Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of CAP Explained. Today we're gonna explore the draft functionality. Draft functionality basically meaning that we can create and edit records and also go out of the application and go back and continue editing. Okay, so it's like a placeholder that will remember all the things we have done to the application, to the entities. So let's go with with CDS watch. And let's see what I mean by that. So we're going to go to the sandbox. And currently, as you can see, we can only delete entries and nothing else. So let's change that and let's put in the create and edit mode for our entity, for our service. And to do that, we're going to need to go to the DB, to the scheme, to the service folder, to the CDS, and we're gonna need to annotate one of our projections. Projections meaning it's just like a view. Okay, so we are exposing an API endpoint, the bookstore service, which then has projections, which are like views, and someone or we itself can consume this service. So how do we annotate? Because we're going to annotate it, an entity projection to make it editable. It's very simply just go with annotate books or service dot books. So we're passing the whole paths of books or service dot books with OData Draft enabled. All right, we see there's a live reload, and now if we just go to our application, already you can see the change. We have a create button. We have a create button, and if you go to this one of the records, you're gonna see an edit button. Okay, so very simple, just like that, just the annotate. You can put the annotation here, or you can put it in the application itself, in the annotations.cts. There's not a fight, I would say, but many people like it better to put it here with the rest of the annotations. Annotations are basically like a list of a way to enrich our application. Okay, so every field that we put in here, every label, every group, every table is transcripted to the annotations.cds for each application. And yeah, so you can put this also on the top, I would say, basically by doing annotate service, because we have this alias service.books with OData Draft enabled. And it's going to have the same effect. No need to put it twice. Semicolon at the end. So you can put it here, or you can put it directly in the service definition itself. I like to put it here because if you're going to have multiple apps that go to the same entity, then it's worth putting it in one place and not in many applications. We're gonna go in a second to the point why you shouldn't use the same projection for many applications. But first, let's just go and explore this draft functionality. So if I go to a record, click on edit, then I can change informations. Of course, I cannot change the created by, owned, and so on informations because it's like a system variable. If I'm gonna change something now, this should change. So for example, I don't know, the publisher has changed the date, so we changed it to something, and we're gonna save. And as you can see, the entry information has changed December 20th. That's right now, actually. So that's great. So correct. Changed by anonymous because I don't have a user assigned. No worries with that. But the cool thing is, if I go to the edit mode, I change something now to, let's say, 60 and status to unavailable. The book is unavailable. And I go outside, it asks me, what do I want to do? Do you want to discard the changes? Do you want to keep the draft? So this is the draft functionality. So that's very cool. So I will choose keep draft. It's the book Secrets of Architecture. Then I can go somewhere else, edit something, change, for example, this to available, save it, and then go back to Secrets of Architecture and see we are currently in the draft mode, the saved version of the draft mode. It's still 60, it's still changed to unavailable. So it has remembered everything I put in there. So until I click on save, it's gonna be saved and then the draft is gone. Okay, so that's the draft functionality. So this is the edit button. So now let's explore the create button, because it's not as simple as it sounds. If you click on create, you're gonna get the same view as you would get for the object page of an entry that you enter onto. And that's fine. We can still put in all the information, but we cannot change from this view the title and the genre because it's in the header information. Okay, and I don't like the basic functionality how this works. So we can overcome this, but that's how it works. So let's do that. And you can see we've got this draft updated. So we can click on discard draft to cancel the creation. So because we have the title and general in the header, you'll need to change this to this general information section so that we can edit it. So let's go to Fiori Open Application Info, list report. Oh, actually, object page. So we click on edit. And if you click on the header section, there's actually a property called editable header content. So you can actually click on true, and if it reloads, and then I click on even on edit, but let's go with create, the header information will pop up here without the label, which I don't like. I don't know how to change it. If you know, write in the comment, okay? But I think that's the standard behavior. And now if I put in a new book, for example, I don't know, Don Quixote, if you write it like that, probably not, then you can see the header information is automatically changing. So, in general, we don't have any enum list, would be nice to have it also. And I don't know, what is it? Let's go with fiction. Makes no sense, but whatever. And then we can pass some other informations which are not obligatory, so we don't need to pass them, and you can create the entry. And as you can see, an object has been created and it is listed here. It doesn't have a status, we didn't pass one. We can change that to available. Okay, so that's one way to edit the header values. One possibility. I'm not a big fan because I don't see the labels, so let's change it back to true, to false, sorry. And let's just put two fields into our general information. Maybe I'll make it a bit wider. Two fields to our general information, which will be the genre and title. Okay, and move it to the top. Right, and then let's put in some nice labels. So that's also not the optimal way, because then at the end you're gonna have two the same informations in one place, right? So we've got here the title, the genre, and here at the header. But I think that's how CAP developers want us to do this. So let's keep this way. Much better, I would say, because we see the labels. And now if I click on create, I can edit it directly here. Planet of Apes, which is a movie, but book probably too. And this is definitely fiction now. So we can change all these properties. The draft is updated. I could go out now, and again, it's gonna ask me, do you want to keep the draft? You haven't saved it. I will say, sure, I want to save it. And now you can see Planet of Apes is on the list. It's only saved for me as a draft. And then I can go and click on create, because that's a new entry. So that is the draft functionality, and that is how you can enable it. Okay, so remember with this annotate with OData Draft enabled. So you turn on draft, you can hover on that, it says what exactly it is. Okay, and a different thing I wanted to show you is how you should separate your services, how you should separate your projections and so on. Because for now, I could create another application with based on the exact same API endpoint and the same service. If we go here, some steps back, okay, I'm gonna just restart it because Control C to stop the server, CDS watch to restart it. Right, let's open it. Here, as you can see, we have service endpoints. So a service endpoint is the service that we define. It's a service, the API endpoint that we can communicate with. So we currently have four views, four projections on the entities, which are tables on our database. And you can go inside to see the data. It's formatted because I have a JSON beautifier. And you can see also the metadata. Metadata, which is very important, is this an EDM mix format, which is basically translating all the annotations. As you can see, annotation something, to this format that is understandable for the compiler. Okay, so everything we put in the annotations. If we search for draft, it will probably be somewhere. So yeah, we can see the draft is enabled many places. I'm probably not showing you the correct place, but you can see what I want to show is basically that you annotate everything that you put in the annotations will be translated to the EDM mix format, and you will see the result here, which is important because, for example, let's create a new application. Just for example purpose, it's going to be a list report page. I'm going to use a local CAP project, bookstore and bookstore service. So do the same again. Don't change anything here. Leave the name project 1. I don't care for now. And let's click on finish. Okay, so it's gonna generate this application very quickly. And you can see we've got this application info for project 1. And if I refresh, we have two applications now. So no changes in service endpoint, of course, but two applications. So two applications are currently pulling information about this service from this EDMX file. Okay, so why does it make a difference? Remember, we need to put all the labels, all the fields for the first application. And now if I go to the newly created project 1 application, you're gonna see that most of the properties, like the autoload, for example, not, but most of the properties, all the criticality is here. If we go to an entry, everything is the same. I don't need to put in the information twice. So it sounds cool. Okay, I don't need to put in twice the information, but actually it's recommended to separate your services. Okay, so if I want to create two applications based on the same entity, I should create two services with two projections. Okay, because now if we go to the application info project 1 to the list report, for example, and we've got any columns, for example, the status, I cannot change that. Okay, so it says it has been defined. As you can see, the message is pretty small, but it's element defined in a different app. Bookstore list view cannot be updated from the current app. Open the page editor from the other app to edit that. Okay, so as you can see, you can create copies of the same application. It makes no sense, but it is not recommended to do that. Okay, so if I would like to create another app, I would need to define a second service. So I could do something like the same, like bookstore, books, I don't know, O library, and then I would do the entity books again as projection on DB books. Okay, and then I have a second service. After everything reloads, you're gonna see they're gonna have two service endpoints. One is the bookstore and one is the library. Okay, so if I go to books, the data is of course the same because we don't change the database layer. But if I generate an application now with Open Application Generator, let's close this up. And again, select list report page, click on next. Local CAP project is going to ask me again, which OData service, which API endpoint do you want to use? So I'm not going to use bookstore service, but I'm going to use the library. Okay, then press on next, skip all the rest informations. I'm going to just change it to library so we know cannot have capital letters, sure. Finish up. And it's going to generate the application. You can see library here. It didn't change the one of the options so that it looks a bit differently, but it's still going to be the same sandbox. And now we can see we don't have the same information that we have from the other app because it's two different services, right? So none of this object page is taken care of. You would need to do it a second time, which is the right way. You should separate the services. You should separate it if they should do different things. Okay, maybe if you want to display books in another application the same way like here, that's fine. You can use the same service. But if you want to do changes, it's recommended to do a separate projection. Okay. We can again go back here. You can see the metadata from this bookstore is filled with annotations, and the metadata of this library is also filled with annotations, but not with the same annotations. Now, if I would want to change that, I would need to go open application info to the library application. Now it gives me a list. And I would need to change of the annotations by themselves, adding some columns, for example, ID, maybe not ID, but modify that. And maybe let's close some of this stuff. So it's visible. And you go to app, you can see we have three applications, bookstore list view, the project application, and the library. And in the library and the annotations, there is not much to see. Okay, so this is a one-to-one view of this application that we see here. So not a lot of fields, title, genre, and so on. Title, genre. Okay, if you change something, they're going to see that. And it's also true for the draft enabled. Okay, so if I want to enable the draft for my library, which maybe I don't want to do, then I would need to do this. Okay, so this is currently enabling the books from bookstore service, the OData creation, but here you don't see the create button, you don't see the edit button, so you would need to do the same for the library. Okay, if we do that, then probably here is gonna appear the create button. Again, the view of the object page is very ugly because we need to change that. Okay. Yeah, so I think that would be this for this episode. I'm gonna do a little bit cleanup. I'm gonna delete these two applications, library and project, but I'm not gonna show you this in the video. I mean, it's very quickly. You can go Control-Shift-P and go to delete application from CAP project and select library. Yes, why not? Let's show it to you. And then delete project one. Okay, and you see the application itself is gone. It is no longer listed. And I'm gonna delete the library service also because I don't think that it's useful for the next episode. I just wanted to show you how you should do it, how you should separate it, the services, and of course the most important is the OData Draft that is currently enabled, and we can edit our application. Okay, guys, so I'm gonna do a commit. Sure, let's do it together. The video will be longer. Git add dot to add everything. I just want to make sure package log has added library, so we can click on discard changes if I don't want to pass anything new to this file. Got the service, which didn't change actually, so it's listed these two applications that we deleted, so we can remove that also. We added these two fields and the OData draft, sure. So git add dot. You see the changes has been staged. The difference between the two branches has changed. And we can do git commit -m episode. I think that's episode 8. I think last time I typed episode 6 instead of 7, so data draft. Okay. And I will push it by myself so you don't see again the codes of the GitHub, which is pretty boring. Thanks for today, guys. Thank you for the comments. It keeps me motivated. So stay tuned for the next episodes coming soon.